downturns, recession, cutback. These are words that send shivers down the spines of millions of people across the world every single day. But seriously, it's not great when these things cause a genuine physical reaction in you. So in this video, we're going to look at some tips and strategies to help you get over it and conquer these fears. So let's look at some of the causes. Which ones can you relate to? Financial anxiety is absolutely real, and it is affecting millions of people across the world. And the causes can be numerous, and they differ from person to person. You're not alone. However, there are some common culprits. So leave a note in the comments below as to which you think the most common factors are that cause financial anxiety. Let's jump in. Personal factors. And this absolutely is not a judgment or a criticism, and that's part of the problem. We're not criticizing. This is constructive. A low or unstable income, working paycheck to paycheck, and that's become more prevalent in today's society with the gig economy, where people are now working with 0 hours contracts. And yes, that does offer some flexibility to the individuals, and that's fantastic. But I assure you the companies are making a lot more money off your back than you're earning from theirs. Debt, and to be specific, I'm talking about bad debt, because with good debt, you can do some really good things with it. Carrying a lot of debt can feel like a physical burden. It's that niggle in the back of your mind that never ever goes away. It's that thing in the back of your head that stops you from sleeping at night. This is the kind of thing that we're going to eradicate in this video. A lack of savings, or not having that emergency fund you can dip into when things just get a bit tight, or when the washing machine breaks down and you need a replacement really quickly. And you know what? It's probably linked to the previous factor, a low or unstable income. So both go hand in hand. Financial mismanagement, poor spending habits, impulse purchasing, not really saving for a rainy day, a lack of financial knowledge or education. That's a huge one. And I have a massive chip on my shoulder about this, don't get me started. I think that is absolutely part of society's failings by not educating us, people, from early school years all the way through school, college, university, into adulthood. But that's another video in itself. That lack of knowledge will create financial chaos and lead to the anxieties you're experiencing today. But don't worry, that's what this video is about. We're going to sort that. Now, it's not all your fault. There are some external factors contributing to this anxiety. Economic instability. You're probably sick and tired of hearing about economic instability, downturns and recessions from the news, from the media, from your friends, from social media, from YouTube. It is absolutely overbearing and overwhelming, and I completely get why you just want to turn it off and not listen to it. But addressing it now will put you in a much better position for the rest of your life. Cost of living crisis. The rise in housing costs has gone through the roof over the last 2 years, and companies seemingly are making billions every single month on our backs, charging us more for fuel, for gas. So what can we do about it? There's very little other than converting to the future of solar and electricity, but that's another video. Healthcare costs, shipping containers getting caught in canals and international trade routes, economic instabilities caused by conflict, and all of this you have no control over. So we'll look at what you can control. Social comparisons. There's nothing worse than scrolling through your feed to see how great a life all of your friends are having, seemingly, going on holiday, they've got a new car, they've got new clothes every 5 minutes. I'm telling you, it's not real, it's fake, and comparison is absolutely the thief of joy, said one US president. Don't worry about what other people are doing, it'll only make you feel worse. Just focus on yourself, because that's all you can do. Personal experience and mindset. It is unbelievable the amount of baggage we carry forward from childhood into adulthood and perpetuate that into our own adulthood with our own children. So if you've grown up in an environment where there were money issues or money struggles or money or financial arguments growing up, you'll be carrying that weight subconsciously into your own adulthood, and you'll probably be making the same financial decisions, which are pretty bad. So we need to break that cycle, and watching this video is one step forward in doing that. Any negative financial event. You lose your job. No one can prepare or plan for that. The washing machine breaks down, the refrigerator goes. There are a million things that can happen that are completely unplanned, that unless you've got a good healthy savings pot ready to deploy, it's just going to affect you. And that really almost doesn't matter how much money you've got, because everybody has a bill to pay at some level. Shame and stigma. Now this is particularly bad in the UK, but there is often a shame and a stigma associated with bad debts or financial mismanagement. And I don't really understand why that is. Surely the right thing to do is help someone out if they're having money problems or they're a bit short 1 month or whatever the issue is. Ultimately, just don't judge someone because they're having a bad time with money at that particular time, because I guarantee you that person will go through a patch in life where they're a bit short too and they'll need some help. It's isolating, and I think we need to do better about talking about these things openly with trusted friends or professionals and just getting it out there. So if you're feeling stressed about money, guess what? You're not alone. Studies have shown that huge amounts of people, north of 90% of people in the world, are dealing with some level of financial anxiety. Bills pile up, unexpected expenses pile up, anything can happen, and it all just seems like it's too much. And this then leads to the worst possible response: to do nothing. So take a breath. We're now going to look at some tips and strategies you can use right now to tame the financial anxiety beast and start to get on top of all those financial worries. But before we slay this financial chimp, I'm going to call it a chimp for now, we need to understand what it is, because it's more than just being broke, it's something else. And I had a really long think about this, and I really distilled it down to one thing. I think financial anxiety is all about having a lack of options. And the good thing about that is knowledge can increase options. So congratulate yourself for watching this so far, because you're gaining more knowledge at every single second. So if we agree that financial anxiety is caused by a lack of options, and we know that the remedy to that is an increased knowledge base, then we need to congratulate ourselves because we're taking a step forward. You've got some more knowledge now to be able to take that one step forward in slaying that financial anxiety. And that really leads neatly into the first tip, and that is acknowledgement. Acknowledge the anxiety. Don't worry about it. Don't feel bad about it. Just say, hey, yeah, okay, I've got some issues. I'm stressed about it. What can I do? Pro tip, and this is something I genuinely do. When I've got a bunch of issues going on in my life, I get out a notepad and a pen, and I just write down the issues one by one in no particular order, and I just look at them. And the reason why I do this is I'm separating myself from the problem. And when you separate yourself from the problem, it's easier to give advice. It's like giving advice to a friend. You always seem to know what to do when a friend's in trouble. You can always give them advice, but for some reason, you can't do it to yourself. So if you do this exercise where you write down the issues, write down the lists of financial issues that you've got, you then address them objectively as if you were talking to a third person. Taming anxiety. Anxieties are completely normal, by the way. It's totally primitive, hardwired into the psyche, and it's good because it makes you aware. And that's what our primitive ancestors needed when they were hunting around looking for berries. They needed to make sure there weren't saber-toothed tigers over there that are ready to pounce and kill them. That's what anxiety is. It keeps you sharp. Track all of your money. Same piece of paper or another piece of paper. Get all of your income written down. Put all of your expenses, write that down too. And just see what is the most important elements. I would argue that the rent or the mortgage is probably high up there, probably number one. Food and bills, number two, and so on and so forth. And then when you get down to the sort of less important things, the subscription to Gardener's Weekly magazine, I mean, do you really need that? I'm not so sure you do if you're not paying the bills. So you need to just rebalance what the priorities are, and getting them down on paper, like I said, is one step closer to taming that anxiety. Craft a battle plan. Set some realistic financial goals. So when you've got all of those expenses written down and you see that you've got a loan with X bank and a credit card with the other bank, see which one of those is the most expensive debt. Generally speaking, credit card debt is the most expensive, unless you've got some really bad loans out there. So you generally want to pay that off first. And if you can, there are lots of credit cards out there doing balance transfers for 0%. There might be a small fee involved in that, but it can help you take a high fee paying credit card at anything north of 50% upwards to 0% for a period. And that gives you some breathing space where you're paying off the credit card and you're not accruing more interest. It's a really good tip. Now, if you're interested in some credit card strategies, then leave a comment below and I'll do a separate video solely on credit cards and moving balances around. And we can work through an exercise to show you what it can look like. Reach out and talk to those creditors, because I've got news for you. Those creditors, those banks, those loan companies, they don't want you to go into debt. They do want you to keep up with repayments. And if you reach out, they'll likely do some sort of restructure that works for both of you. And that might be reducing your monthly payments for an increased period of time, just whilst you get yourself back on your feet. And then when you're back on your feet, you can probably increase those payments again to reduce the time. But the point I'm making is, don't bury your head in the sand. Reach out, have a phone call, because that will save you so much stress, because you're facing the problem head on and you realize that these institutions aren't necessarily big financial beasts that are trying to put you under. It's worth noting it might not always be bad debt that is causing the anxieties. It could also be saving for a house or saving for a big purchase. If you've got those same anxieties, it's a different approach, but still you can work through some of the exercises we've covered already, such as putting your expenses down on a piece of paper and or speaking to a financial advisor to give you some clarity. And that leads neatly into this point, which is build a financial team. Speak to people, trusted friends that you have a financial advisor, go to the bank and see what your options are. There are people that work in the financial services industry, and make sure they're regulated, by the way, that are there to help you and offer you a service that will genuinely have your best interests at heart. And they're aware of many more financial products out there that might be better suited to you. If you got that old loan for your college course, your student course many years ago, and it was at a particularly high APR, annual percentage rate, there are many more products available today that might be a lot better. So you can consolidate a really old, expensive loan or debt with a new product that is much more flexible and much cheaper. So really speak to trained professionals, whether you are in anywhere, US or UK. So beyond the numbers, financial anxiety is not just about numbers. It's about your physical health and your emotional well-being. So I think it's really important to take time every day to practice a bit of self-care. And I'm not necessarily saying you need to go on a yoga retreat to India for 6 months. No, you can do simple things like just going to the gym every day. And I know you might be saying, well, that's another subscription I don't need to pay for. You're absolutely right. It could easily be going for a walk in the park or just getting some fresh air every day. The point is, having some time to yourself to decompress is critically important to keeping your mind free and sharp. Whatever helps you de-stress and stay calm is the thing you should be doing. Challenging negative thoughts. So we alluded to this earlier, and that is comparing yourself to others. That needs to stop immediately. Focus on your progress and not their perceived perfection, because it's fake. And following on from that, focus on gratitude. Be grateful for what you have. I mean, at the end of the day, you've got an internet connection. You're watching this. There are there are millions of people out there that don't even have internet connections. So you're one step ahead of these people in the race to beat their financial anxieties. It's this shift in perspective that will help build resilience going forward. Conquering these financial anxieties is going to take time and effort, I'm not going to kid you. But you can do it as long as you're patient with yourself and you keep the expectations realistic and you build a team. Comparison is the thief of joy, said one US president, and keeping up with the Joneses is a surefire way of staying miserable, because guess what? The Joneses are doing exactly the same, trying to keep up with you. If you're in the US, does that metaphor work? We use it in the UK, but I want to make sure that this isn't lost in translation. So if you got some value out of this video, I'd really appreciate a comment down below. That'd be great. Do you have any tips or strategies that you've used to get on top of financial anxiety or financial stress in the past that could help anyone else watching this video? If so, like I said, leave a comment below. And also, if you've not already, subscribe. That'd be absolutely fantastic. The YouTube algorithm loves it, I've heard, and I'd also appreciate it too. So without further ado, thanks very much and catch you later.